Alright everyone, this is your Avengers Age of Ultron review. We're on the road to Avengers Endgame. This one here is the 2015 Avengers film, a follow-up to Marvel's The Avengers 2012. This was a great follow-up, a great sequel. Awesome film. We saw a lot of new elements get introduced in this movie, as well as some new characters. So we start off in Sokovia. Apparently the Avengers are taking on Hydra. They are going to a Hydra base. Baron von Strucker has Loki's scepter. The Avengers are looking for it for some reason. So right out of the gate we get an intense action scene. I love it. It's a great scene, the Avengers taking on Hydra, shooting each other, punching at each other. Iron Man had some pretty cool scenes. This is kind of what you wanted to do, to start out a second Avengers movie. Get right into it. That's exactly what they did. So, Iron Man, he gets Loki's scepter. They take it back to Stark Tower, where Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, they are working on a new program called the Ultron program. Tony Stark, he wants to create a suit of iron around the world. So that when the Avengers can't do their avenging anymore, the Iron Man technology can't. The problem is, Ultron gets a mind of his own. They use the Mind Stone to create Ultron. So Ultron wakes up, gets a mind of his own, and he starts going through the data files that the Avengers had. He starts realizing that Tony Stark is not who he says that he is. He's a man that says he's doing a lot of good, but is he really? So Ultron decides that Tony Stark is a bad person. He has to be defeated. The Avengers must be stopped. So he takes out Jarvis, and we'll see what he does later on. But we go to the Avengers. They're having a party. It's probably a homecoming party. They're drinking, they're dancing. Everyone's trying to lift Thor's hammer. But just like all parties, all good things must come to an end. Ultron arrives. Everyone just stands up. They're like, what is this thing? It's a robot. And they ask, who sent Ultron? And Ultron plays a recording message of Tony Stark. And so Ultron, he has a bunch of robotic minions. They start destroying the house. And the Avengers are taking on Ultron's minions. Right out of the way, we have our plot. Avengers versus Ultron. So, the Ultron, he takes the scepter, and he goes back to Sokovia. Yeah. So we go into the meeting room. The Avengers having another meeting. They're discussing what happens. And they start thinking, can they really trust each other? Thor has a moment with Tony Stark where he can't trust him. He has more than enough words to describe Tony Stark. Steve Rogers also looks at him. This is what this movie is going to do to a lot of the Avengers. It's going to challenge them mentally. The first one, it was very physically. Can they put their egos in check? Can they cooperate? Now it's, can they trust each other? You'll see it throughout the entire movie. So we go back to Sokovia. We have Ultron there, and he hires Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch to further his plot against the Avengers and to destroy the world. So the Avengers, they track the Loki's scepter to Wakanda. Leslie's claw is there. But they're too late because Ultron's already tracked down Claw. We get a fight scene between the Avengers and Ultron. Iron Man versus Ultron. We have Captain America and Thor taking out Ultron. We have Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch. They're also battling the Avengers. It's a back and forth fight scene. However, Ultron gets away. The Avengers become defeated in this scene. It's because of Scarlet Witch. What Ultron does well in this movie, he attests the Avengers mentally. He challenges them from the within side. We have Scarlet Witch here, and she does mind control on every member of the Avengers. Tony Stark, Thor, the Black Widow, Captain America, and even the Hulk. And while they're under mind control, they get dream scenes. They're having a dream. So real, but it's actually a dream. Tony Stark's dream is he sees the world being destroyed by Chitauri. They're coming to Earth, they're invading, sees his fellow member Avengers getting killed. Is this true? Is it foreshadowing events yet to come? We'll find out. Thor's vision is he's back on Asgard. Black Widow goes back to her younger days as she was part of like a ballet squad. Captain America goes back to World War II, dancing with Haley Atwell, who played Peggy Carter. Hulk's also a victim of mind control. We don't know what his dream sequence is, but we do get the Hulkbusters debuted. We see the Hulkbuster fight the Hulk. They're battling through the streets of Wakanda, causing destruction. So the Avengers have been defeated mentally. You see in the picture, they're all emotionally depressed, defeated. They don't know what to do. So they take shelter in Hawkeye's home. We get to meet Hawkeye's wife and kids. Now, we didn't really notice in the previous movies, but they kept it off file. So they're in the house, they're discussing their next move. I also get to see Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, kind of butting heads again, talking about, their different ways of life. Tony Stark's a man from the future, wants the world to be more futuristic. Steve Rogers wants the world to rely more on the past. They kind of are at odds here. Can they trust each other? Are they slowly turning on one another? So we get the big battle scene in Sokovia. Ultron's there in Sokovia. It's where the cradle is at. The cradle holds the Mind Stone. They're building like a new version of Jarvis there. You get the Avengers taking on Ultron. The city just gets destroyed. Sokovia eventually gets lifted up in the air. As soon as Ultron drops the city, the entire world's going to get destroyed due to the impact that it will have. So, this is a great finale. Great grand finale, great ending battle scene to the Avengers. That's more intense than the first movie. So some key moments happened. We get Tony Stark and Iron Man, they're fighting each other. We get Tony Stark and Captain America, they're fighting each other, different ways to do things. Tony Stark wants the cradle, Steve Rogers wants it. What's inside the cradle? Is it good? Is it bad? They all have different opinions on it. Inside the cradle comes the Vision. Paul Bettany plays the Vision. It's Jarvis, but kind of in a humanoid form. And he possesses the Mind Stone in his mind. And a shocking moment happened in this scene is that he can lift Thor's hammer. It means he's worthy, which means he's kind of a good guy. Alright, and his job is to defeat Ultron. He doesn't want to kill Ultron, though, because to him, Ultron is unique. He also has some character changes. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, they notice that Ultron is not who he seems, either. Ultron wants to save the world, but that also means destroying it, which Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch do not want any part of that. So they turn on Ultron and decide to fight with the Avengers. So people are forced to evacuate Sokovia. They go onto the helicarrier because the city's about to drop, about to blow. We get the Avengers taking on Ultron and his minions. Eventually they stand tall. And they move into the Avengers mansion where Captain America and Black Widow are introducing the newest members of the Avengers. However, this all came at a cost. Quicksilver gets killed in this movie, so the Avengers have another death. Just like last movie, we had Coulson. And now the reason why this happened is because Fox owns the rights to Quicksilver. they allowed Marvel to share the rights for one movie. After that, the character had to be killed off and they could not reference him in the future movies. Now, I guess Quicksilver, not really because of that. I didn't guess Quicksilver seriously, but more of in a comedic way. Quicksilver at that time was in some of the 3 of the biggest movies of his entire life. You know, he was in X-Men Days of Future Past fighting the Sentinels. He was in Age of Ultron fighting Ultron. He's going to be in X-Men Apocalypse fighting Apocalypse. And I know it's a different character and different actor, but still, Quicksilver's in 3 of the biggest movies in cinematic history. I thought there was no way he's going to survive these films. So, yeah, I thought he was going to get killed, and I was right. He got killed. Some fans didn't like that, but I kind of knew why they did it. In the credit scenes, see Thanos coming in. You know, he's going to go collect the rest of the Infinity Stones himself. Ultron failed him. Loki failed him. He's going to do it himself. Now, Avengers Age of Ultron, I thought it was a great movie. The story was better. It was better than Avengers 1. However, it did not feel like an Avengers movie. It felt like Iron Man 3.5. The reason why is they didn't do a good job of bringing the Avengers back together. What we are in right now is Phase 2. Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. We got solo films featuring the aftermath of the Avengers 1. We get some new additions, Ant-Man Guardians. Kind of some of their experimental films. So, and all these films did pretty well. But what they didn't do is kind of made you ask, okay, how are the Avengers going to get together? They did not answer that question. I feel like if they would have added a couple more movies, maybe so. Another issue I have with here is Ultron. Ultron, he just did too many jokes in this movie. He cut too many jokes. For some reason. You know, I could still take him seriously better than Loki, but he was too funny. You know, he makes a joke about, like, you've never made an omelet before. Says a lot of things Tony Stark did. He's kind of like Tony Stark a little bit. Made too many jokes. Also, his origin was changed. In the comics, he was built by Hank Pym, Ant-Man. This one, he was built by Tony Stark. Didn't really like that. I wish he was built by Hydra, Baron von Strucker. That would have given a reason for the Avengers to come together. The Avengers versus Hydra. So I was invested into that, because at the end of the Winter Soldier, the end credit scene, you had Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver being held hostage by Hydra. Really wanted the Avengers to take them on. But we didn't really get that. So, yeah. I would have Hydra build Ultron. You had the Avengers fight them later on. Now, the aftermath. Scarlet Witch was probably the MVP. She tested the Avengers from the within side, emotionally, mentally. Can they trust together? We already know they can work together, put their egos in check. But can they trust each other and stay as a team? And this all comes to Captain America's Civil War, where the Avengers eventually become divided and take a stand. You also have Infinity War after this. War is coming. Thanos is coming. And the Avengers, they have to put down their differences if they want to defeat Thanos. They can't be divided. They have to unite. So can the Avengers unite for Infinity War? They didn't really do so for this one. It was kind of forced. You had Coulson and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. say, bring on the Avengers. They found Baron von Strucker's hideout, and he just said, bring in the Avengers. There wasn't really much of a reason for them to come back together. Infinity War, there is a reason, and we'll get there. Age of Ultron, I love it. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Some few issues, but, they're passable. They're not really too big to impact this movie, but I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Awesome. Had a better story. Even though it didn't feel like the Avengers a whole lot, it was still pretty good. It was still worth the watch. Made $1 billion at the box office and opened the door to new material and elements and events that will happen after this film. This has been your Age of Ultron review.